Today I'm going to be talking about the evolution of the 4 string and the 5 string banjos. I find this very interesting because I play both and I've really got into them mostly over the last 2 years. But I find it very interesting because playing the instrument is great to know the background, where they came from, how they were formed, how they really how the first ones were made. So for the 5 string first, I started playing the 5 string last year, but I fell in love with this instrument because of my favourite players were Luke Kelly and Finbar Fury. This was because I play a lot of Irish music, so really it would have been my style, and the sound of the banjo just does it for me really. But with the likes of say Luke Kelly, the town I love so well is which that stands out really when you think. And then you have Finbar Fury with the with the Sweet 16, which is probably one of the most well known banjo songs of all time. Well, in regards to Irish music. But the banjo really started off in Africa mostly, with slaves playing, which they would have learned to do in their spare time, and they started off being built with hollow body backs, so it would have been this with animal skin kind of hair, this area, but they wouldn't have really, back then they wouldn't have had the pearl in the frets, or they wouldn't have really had, the 5th string developed over time, which is tuned up. So this is open G, which is the tune that I play in, and kind of most really standard banjo tuning, which is so kind of works for everything. Then after American, I was kind of brought in to America from Africa, and it developed into kind of jazz music, and that's where the banjo really started to form, because it was played in Africa, it would have been, in America, it would have been played in the minstrel shows, which would have been kind of I don't know, it's a different type of show, you wouldn't really see them nowadays, but it's kind of a play on how the Africans would have played, so that caused them to learn the 5 string just for the show. But in jazz music it would have been played to accompany kind of trumpets, snare drums, everything really, until then it developed into the Irish music, where from there it's become very popular again by playing main melodies to songs and accompanying different tunes, such as people say playing on a whistle or a fiddle. You could have the 5 string company by playing chords, which always works too. So really the 5 string for me is stands out for me, because nowadays there's different, you see here on the armrest, my one is engraved, but there's so many different designs you can get for each one. The different bridges, you can have them properly stuck. There's obviously different strings you can use. There's different designs around the sides. You have the use of straps nowadays, so that comes in handy. Say if you don't like sitting and playing, obviously you have to use a strap. But then you have for the back, this is I think it's mahogany. It's like an American mahogany, and my banjo is actually made by an American company called Tanglewood, so which is just hair on top. This actually is an American 5 string which I bought last year, but seeing kind of and how the instrument plays and how it feels for me, it's that, and seeing the history, especially the instrument, has made me kind of really get interested in playing it again, because Irish music is on a really big comeback now. Banjo is a huge part of Irish music. So next is my 4-string, my tenor. The tenor banjo kind of developed from the 5-string. This is my one, which I got last year. Another one with different designs, but really it developed kind of from the tenor, not from the 5-string. Such as like the top string came, so this was more kind of used for chords and to play melodies like chords is. And then you have your melodies obviously, which is, well, which is basically a tenor banjo for a lot of it. Like it was played in a lot of jazz. It would have been really kind of Appalachian style, which would be mountain music really. In America, it'd be a certain style that was played over there then. So you would have had the dueling banjos really is one of the always standout tunes for the banjo, which is always going to be like a really huge part of the banjo. But then also the tenor was brought really to Ireland by the Americans, and it kind of developed a certain style of playing for each band, because you have the chieftains, which it would have been huge with, and they're kind of collaborating really with different countries in music, such as China would have been the sound, and the different like flicks you can do to make it. See, like there's plenty of different kind of bits of ornamentation, variation that suit the style. But then for Irish bands, like proper folk bands, you would have had Davy Arthur, who played with the Furies. He would have been a huge part. You've obviously Barney McKenna, who's one of the most well-known banjo players of all time. I played a tune. This is called "The Maid Behind the Bar" by Barney McKenna. I just played the first part. That's one of the first tunes I learned really, which I also started playing this about a year and a half ago, and worked my way into the 5-string then, so I could kind of vary in my style, which is always a great thing to be able to learn as well. Nowadays the banjo is really, it's very popular, including this one is made from American maple, which I got made last year, and it's a different skin. It's a black skin head on it, which I don't know, just was my personal preference, but it shows how much it developed over time from the old like sheep and goat skin, and now it's gone to like it's a proper resonator, so the sound comes out through hair. And then nowadays you can get the different mother of pearl designs and different tuning pegs. Everything has kind of developed over time from being what it was back then to the different styles and preference now. Nowadays everything is kind of going now in the way of technology, and like instruments are really developing over time. So we have the likes of, I have a pickup in this one, which is a Fishman pickup, so I can plug in now like a guitar would and play my music that way, which works out a lot better for me, because I can be heard now if I'm playing on my own band, which is a great bit of evolution, like for especially obviously technology, but for banjo in itself, that you now have the option that you can play louder. Other than that really, it's nowadays, well, who in my opinion is the best tenor banjo player of all time, is Jerry O'Connor, who's carrying on the tradition now, because the tradition of really Irish music kind of died in the 70s and 80s, when the likes of American like rock, electric guitars all really came in the style. But nowadays you see a lot of collaborations between that type of music and the different instruments of the world. So banjo's it's been kind of revolutionised again into like now, because Irish music is becoming really big again. So that's an evolution kind of from where it was in the American kind of jazz days now to being revolutionised back now into Irish music by who I think now is probably Jerry O'Connor for me, because he's after changing really my style of play from looking at him playing myself. Like his different like kind of melodies he plays is very different from how they would have been before, including the little flicks, kind of variations, you've your slides, like you've everything in so many different ways. And another player is Eddie Whelan that I really enjoy, who's not as well known, but he's very, like he plays at great speed, like, so it's always great to see an instrument that you like play that speed, because you know that it can be done. And like it's completely different than what it would have been, say, in America when they would have played like the jazz music, to Africa where they would have played like all different types of their jazz, American jazz, Appalachian folk. So there's so many different styles that are being evolutionised throughout the years. So also for the 5-string, there's now different ways you can play. I have the metal finger picks, which I've kind of started to get used to, but it takes a lot of practice obviously, and then you've your normal picks. I tend to go for 60 millimeters or 73, because I don't know, to just kind of get a better tone from the banjo. You have your capos now, which you can kind of work at, like to change keys. Say if you wanted to play in D, you have, or if you wanted to play in B flat, you have, which is really helpful because like you don't have to kind of change or work your way around the fingerboard. But now also you have your on-clip tuners as well, which are a great bit of evolution as well. Like they're great bit of technology, because you don't really have to do it. Well, it's better to know by ear, but if you don't, they're great by as well, of course. So this is my video on the evolution of my 4-string tenor and my 5-string throughout the years.